Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So one of the guys I used to work with used to have this argument, this refrain, that taxes were theft. The government is stealing from me, I earned it, and they're trying to take my stuff, the fucking government. I used to think this was one of the dumbest arguments that I've ever heard. The guy might have been extraordinarily proficient from the standpoint of software, but from the standpoint of politics, he had no idea what he was talking about. Now, fact is, one case that they like to make is that the government, for all intents and purposes, boils down to force. That if you go from person to person to person, at some point you get to a man holding a bat. And that man holding the bat is the true essence of government. That argument is right. Force is the essence of government. Government does reserve the right to be the only doom bringer in a society. In fact, the moment that you end up with two doom bringers in a society, you end up with a civil war in that society. Now, just because that's true, that in no way gives credence to this idea that taxes are theft. Fact is, we have a society, we have a societal framework. This is a game space. Now, within this particular game space, we as a collective lend all of our talents to make this what it is. You have some people who cook, you have some people who do software, you have some people who keep the lights running, you have some people who take up the trash, you have some people who deliver drinks, you have some people who deliver coffee, you have some people who do policing, meaning, shoot minorities in the face and harassing the citizens. You have the Navy, you have the military, you have the National Guard, you have the Air Force. All of the talents and the labors that go into making the society what it is comes from all of us as a collective pulling together. Like anything else, there's some people in the society, when you roll the dice, that do magnificently well, and there's some people who don't do magnificently well. In the cases where people don't do magnificently well, those people devote their talents in other ways. I don't know what those talents are, but those talents are probably devoted in some other way. In cases where people have done magnificently well, good for you. But understand the only reason they've done magnificently well is because there was a framework and there was a society that all of us together pulled together to create. If there were no roads, if there were no streets, if there was no electricity, if there was no cops, if there was none of these things that make a society what it is, if there was nobody to bring you your drinks, if there was nobody to bring your coffee, if none of these things existed, if there was no secretaries, think about this. Think of all the labor that go into making a society what that society is. If none of those things, of all of those people said, fuck it, I'm not doing it, then you would not have a societal structure and you would not have the capacity to make those riches and millions that you made. Your riches, your wealth, your luck in this is purely because you have a rest of a societal framework around you and you have all these people pulling together to make the society to what it is as a collective. You've done magnificently well. That tax is not a burden per se. That tax is not a punishment. That tax is not theft. That tax is your share of what you give back to the society that has allowed you to make all the wealth that you've made. Whether you've made that wealth using the labor on this particular society, whether you made that wealth using the resources of the society. In either case, your wealth was made and created based on us, based on the 99%, based on the things that we do to keep this society running and humming along. As a collective, this is your tax. This is your thank you for allowing me to function in the society the way that I've been able to function in society and the way that I've been able to make massive amounts of cash within the societal framework. Thank you for allowing me to get magnificently wealthy in the society that you guys create and the society that you guys continue to propagate. Thank you. It's not theft. It's what you yourself are giving back to say thank you for the wealth that we have allowed you to create in our collective society. Looking at taxes as theft is the most miserly and selfish point of view that I think I've ever seen within regards to the way we talk about organizing our affairs from a societal standpoint. It's not theft. It's not theft. Fact is, if the 99% was not present in this society, if we weren't pushing and tugging and pulling and having the baker, the candlestick maker, the haberdasher, the shoemaker, the cobbler, the guy who's doing the copping or the policing, the person who's doing the military and flying the jets. If none of these people were in your society, you would have no capacity and would have had no capacity to make the millions or billions of dollars that you've been able to extract from the society itself. The tax is a thank you to the collective for allowing you to get as magnificently wealthy as you've gotten. Pay your goddamn fair share and stop bitching about taxes. It's not theft. You guys have gotten magnificently wealthy while everyone else has been stagnant. This is your welcome. Fact is, if you want a society to function well, if you want a society that functions without a huge amount of crime, without a huge amount of distress, then you would need to give back the social services. Those social services are paid for, in some degree, based on the money that the people got at the top. The money that the people got at the top is purely at the behest of the 99%. Somewhere along the way, they completely forgot that and believed that for whatever reason, they made their wealth purely on their own, as if they were self-made millionaires, and that there was no societal structure, that there were no roads, that they built all the roads themselves, they built all the schools themselves, they built all the universities themselves, they built everything themselves, they did it all on their own. That is comic book insanity thinking. What the point I'm making here is, your wealth is purely at the behest of the 99% that's in this country. Yes, you got magnificently wealthy. In that case, the country rolled a decent number. You should give back. You should give back not because of theft, but because you were able to get wealthy off of everybody else. And giving back a portion of the wealth is just the right thing to do. Not to mention, it keeps a certain amount of societal cohesion intact. It keeps down a certain amount of crime. It allows the public itself to have access to services and the capacity of the society to allow people to move through the levels, as opposed to the society being stagnant. You've done magnificently well, the top 1% and the top 0.1%. At a certain point, it's just a decimal point to you. To everybody else, it is vital services that those people need. It is not theft. You are paying your fair share. That's all it is. Yes, you can look at it from the standpoint through that miserly, selfish lens of theft. I got mine, fuck everybody else. The fact is, though you got yours, fuck everybody else, if it wasn't for everybody else, you wouldn't have had yours. It's not theft. That's my point. Pay your fair share. We could get along like nobody's business. You wouldn't have this uprising and this uproar. You wouldn't have this populist pushback if people had no issue paying their fair share, and if that money was used for the services that people need to have somewhat of a decent life. You should not have homelessness if there's even one person with $1 billion. All I'm saying is, and I don't want to belabor the point, it's not theft. It's called paying your fair share. It's called telling the society that allowed you to get that much cash, insanely allowed you to get that much cash. It's the thank you. It's the fair share. It's the right thing to do. It's the moral thing to do. It's the best thing to do from a societal standpoint if you're looking for societal cohesion, and if you're looking to make sure that the people in that society have access to the things that they need, including education and healthcare. I'll leave it at that. Alright guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks everyone.